evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to Raider Arena in Niceville, Florida, home of the Northwest Florida State College men's and women's Raider basketball team. I am Rob Brown alongside Jeff McDonough. We are set for another doubleheader. This time, the Raiders welcome Tallahassee Community College, the Eagles, from just a couple of hours to the east into Raider Arena for a matchup of a pair of teams looking to establish themselves in the Panhandle Conference. Rob Brown, Jeff McDonough with you. Jeff, this is a ladies team that is coming off of back-to-back losses, not something that this team is very familiar with. They dropped one to Gulf Coast at home, 63-58 a couple of weeks ago. We were on the call for that. Then they went on the road to Chipola and lose by 4, 53-49 just a few days ago. Not a familiar position, having to battle back from adversity like this, Jeff McDonough. I expect this Lady Raider team to come out today and try to establish the mental toughness that it takes to rebound from a pair of losses.
Yeah, absolutely, Rob. Like we've talked about the last few weeks we've been here and we've watched these ladies go at it. We recognize a trend that they do tend to kind of start off slow in both the first and second half. Maybe tonight we can see them get off to a better start and kind of keep that going through the first half. And then, of course, last time we were here in this building, we looked for that final push down the stretch, and they just couldn't get it falling. Maybe tonight we'll see a little different attitude from these Lady Raiders here at home.
It'll be interesting to see how Coach Walker tries to reestablish this team. We've mentioned one of the things that the men's and women's team both seem to have in common. They are very emotional. They tend to get caught up in the flow of a basketball game, and that's not always a good thing. It can be caught up in negative emotions as well. Now you've got 2 losses back-to-back. You've now dropped to second place in the Panhandle Conference, which has not been a position that the Lady Raiders have spent much time in over the past couple of years. So now it's time to see if they can bounce back. We are underway here at Raider Arena, and the Northwest Florida State College Lady Raiders will have the opening possession. Again, 4 quarters of college basketball in the women's game. We will have 4 10-minute periods, unlike the men's with their 2 20-minute halves. Awatrossi, Leander Etchie back inside to Trossi for the little short-range jumper, but she can't get it to go, just too far to the right, and Tallahassee gets their first possession of the afternoon.
Yeah, that's one you typically see Trossi knocked down there. Pretty short distance, maybe just a little too much, getting those early game jitters out of the way.
TCC in their blue and gold. There's the pass over to the corner. The right-handed jumper is no good for Nesma Khalifa, and the turnover committed right away. So the Raiders give a fresh shot clock back to the Eagles. That's one thing we talked about, Jeff, in the last game. A lot of the loss at home to Gulf Coast College came because of mental errors. There's a big 3 knocked down by Julian Redmond, the 5'11" sophomore from Chicago, to get us underway.
Yeah, my concern right now, just right off the jump, Rob, is just the energy, especially down here on the defensive end after 2 possessions. Just not seeing them fly to the ball like we typically do and closing out and getting in the shooter's face.
Georgia Gale misses the 3. Shania Mertens can't put it back. Here comes TCC back the other way. The runner no good for Deshauna Washington Polk, and the rebound finds its way into the waiting arms of Leandra Etchie. Awatrossi thought about pulling it back to Mertens, and Mertens is going to be called for the travel down outside the 3-point line just in front of the TCC bench.
Yeah, caught her getting just a little too comfortable when she caught the pass. She went ahead and shuffled both feet. A lot of times you won't see that call made unless she's making a move to the basket before she puts the ball on the floor, but it was a little too obvious to let go.
Back on this end of the floor was watching the Eagles in their pregame warm-up. This is a team that takes good care of the basketball. You will likely not see a lot of turnovers by this team. Good running, layup off the glass, falling away. Bad angle for Daisha Bradford, but she knocks it down anyway. That's a tough spot to hit, and she did it.
Yeah, sorry, Rob, there, but just great full-court pressure there from Tallahassee after the made basket. That's why we got to start putting some down ourselves and forcing some tough shots and get into our transition ball game, which is our strength.
Leandra Etchie, who has carried this team on her back through a lot of home games, will try to do the same there, but that layup well short. Etchie gets the rebound and goes up, is fouled twice on her way up to the glass. Etchie is going to be a key in this matchup tonight, as you saw there. Both times that the Raiders have gotten close to the rack, it has been done by Leandra Etchie.
Yeah, we know from watching these ball games this year that Etchie is certainly the spark plug that gets this engine going, and it'd be nice to see her get off to a good start here and get everyone else following behind her.
Leandra Etchie, a 5'6" sophomore, playing the guard spot out of New York. Etchie's second free throw is in and good, so she knocks down the back end, and it's 5-1 Eagles. Full court pressure put on, and there's a turnover. Jaden McCoy gets a hand into the passing lane and creates the turnover.
Yeah, that's where we thrive, is in the transition game. We can get into our press and then get into transition offense. So knock down that second free throw was a huge plus.
You talked about that energy at the beginning of the game. A handful of turnovers like that can always spark a little bit of momentum. That's what the Raiders will need to create moving forward. Whistle blown on the far side. We've got a reach-in foul called by the near side official. That's going to go against number 25, Deshona Washington Polk. 5-1 with 7 minutes left on the scoreboard. There's the inbound to Jaden McCoy, who goes straight to the rack with the left hand, but she can't get the left-handed layup. Tough layup for Jaden McCoy. You'd think she'd have an angle there. Ended up getting cut off and just couldn't get it to drop.
Yeah, it looked like she was going up with the left hand off the left foot, which can be kind of awkward and just a little too hard off the backboard.
So the Eagles reestablish. There's McCoy playing defense on the inside, and a nice little jumper from Jamira McChristine, but she can't get it to go, and the ball ends up off of the hands of Awatrasi. It reestablishes Tallahassee Community College with a fresh shot clock.
Yeah, right now I can already see our ladies got to do a better job under the basket of blocking out and keeping Tallahassee off the glass.
Three-pointer no good, and Etchie is swarmed by a pair of TCC defenders, able to dribble out and reestablish the offense. Good court vision from Leandra Etchie not to get trapped underneath. Shania Mertens to Awatrasi. Trasi's looking inside for Cece Mayo, who was checked in to replace Jaden McCoy. There's a drive in the left-hand leaner from Etchie. It's good. Book it.
Yeah, Etchie decided not to use that screen from Trasi and just jab to the right, make it appear she's going to use the screen, and gave her a lane with the left hand. Great
and there's
shot.
Cece Mayo. We've called her the spark plug all year. Anytime she comes onto the floor, you can feel the energy pick up for that Lady Raider squad, and there she was trying to make a play there. Could not keep possession of the ball, but TCC now knows they've got to keep an eye on number 34.
Yeah, absolutely. She certainly brings a lot of energy to the club, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Speaking of, there's Cece Mayo, got a hand in there, gets up on the floor. Etchie gets it ahead to Mayo. Mayo's going to pull it back out and wait for numbers. Over to Georgia Gale. Georgia Gale for three. Bucket and the foul. Georgia Gale clutch. Gets the pass from Cece Mayo with a hand on her shoulder, knocks down the tray, and a chance, Jeff McDonald, to earn 4 for the Lady Raiders.
And Rob, that's huge. You remember last week, we never really saw Georgia Gale get going on the offensive side of the ball, and knocking down an early three, and especially with the foul and getting a step to the line, that is huge. Get her going, it's going to make a big difference. It's going to clear out the inside, help us get to the basket as well.
Georgia Gale, the 5'11 sophomore guard from Yorkshire, Great Britain, headed to UCF to continue her career after her time here in Niceville up, and UCF knows they are getting not just a good shooter, but watch the way she plays defense too. She is willing to fight through picks. She is unwilling to give up any ground if the ball ends up in front of her. Just a phenomenal all-around basketball player is Georgia Gale.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's Georgia Gale playing defense, quick foot movement, and forces the off-balance shot to beat the shot clock off the hands of Victoria Pierce, and she can't get it to go. So Etchie and Awatrasi will come back the other way. Here's Cece Mayo. She'll take it herself, and the ball knocked out of her hands. It was a good one-step move from Cece Mayo to create a little space, but loses the ball on the way to the rack.
That's my only issue with Cece Mayo at times, Rob. She does, as she's going to the basket, she attempts to make some shots that maybe aren't, high percentage shots. creating some turnovers and missed shot opportunities. But maybe see her take a little bit better care of the basketball would be nice.
The Eagles, again, they're focused typically on ball control, creating high percentage shots. You'll see one there. Run to the basket, just a little leaner. That's a tough shot to defend from Julian Redmond.
Yeah, put that one up right in the face of Tallahassee. Not someone that typically makes it easy on anybody, so that was a great shot.
Here's Etchie working one-on-one against Redmond. Over to Georgia Gale, who's got pressure. She'll get some help from CC Mayo. Here's Awa Tracy. Gale does not use the screen. Takes it herself, and the right-hand runner is good for Georgia Gale.
Great sign once again. Seeing her contributing on the offensive end of the floor is nice. Definitely need her tonight.
5 points for Georgia Gale. Lead scorers on the floor for the Lady Raiders right now as that long jumper is off glass hard, and CC Mayo ends up in a scrap for the rebound, but she can't hold on to it. Loose ball ends up with Awa Tracy. Tracy over to Etchie, and Etchie's got room. Kick over to Shania Mertens. Look at the court vision from Leandra Etchie to find Shania Mertens for the easy high percentage layup.
Yeah, great job by Mertens running the floor, getting back, and making herself available for that pass.
Nice little right-hand scoop there off the hands of Daisha Bradford. That's about as impressive of an inside drive as you'll see out of a point guard for this squad.
Absolutely. Great job by Tracy, though, getting herself in position, set up to take that charge.
Tracy will head to the bench. On checks Jaden McCoy, the redshirt sophomore, 6'3", out of Knoxville, Tennessee, is Jaden McCoy. And speaking of, we were talking earlier about how some of the ladies on this team are looking at their college options. Jaden McCoy's got a handful, a number of Power 5 schools, including LSU, keeping an eye on Jaden McCoy and her progress this season. There's a turnover inside for the Lady Raiders. The Eagles on the fast break, and it's blocked. Etchie gets the rejection from the glass. Another desperation layup, and that time it goes. Jada Perry gets the right-handed scoop, and Jeff, sometimes there's just nothing you can do. That was just a prayer of a scoop shot for number 21, and she got it to fall somehow.
Yeah, she's obviously very comfortable around the rim and knows her position on the floor and gets that thing up off the glass. Really nice. Great shot.
As she fights her way to the rim there and gets hacked on the hand before she gets the shot off. No, they did call it a shooting foul. So Etchie will head to the stripe for an opportunity to earn a couple. The Raiders nursing a 1-point lead right now. 5 for Georgia Gale, 3 for Etchie. Make it 4. Shania Mertens on the floor with a pair as well.
Yeah, it looks like we're recovering from that slow start early in this first period and kind of getting things going in our transition game. And hopefully we can get some things going in a half-court offense as well. If we can keep Georgia Gale knocking down some outside shots, hopefully open up some things inside for McCoy and also for Tracy.
Free throw good for Etchie. Now it's a 3-point game. TCC trying to get the fast break against the press, and that is going to be a travel call, just a little bit out of control. The pass to Deja Reed, a 6-foot freshman from Cincinnati, Ohio. She was falling backwards, and her momentum carried her into Jaden McCoy, and the travel gets blown, so it's a turnover for the Eagles. 4 turnovers created this evening for the Lady Raiders. There's the inside pass to CC Mayo. Little jump shooter is no good for Anastasia Zakharova. And TCC ends up with the rebound after a scrape. The quick pass up and under. That's a tough shot for Jada Perry, and she's fouled as she goes underneath the backboard by Leandra Etchie. I think that Perry might have actually forced herself too far under the basket to be successful, but Etchie was unaware of where they were on the court and draws the foul.
Yeah, as I'm sitting here watching the game, Rob, I was just about to make a comment about it. Looks like we're getting beat on the boards, and then I look up at the stats on the big board here, and they've got 2 more boards than we do, but there have been a few that just, if our ladies will do a better job of bodying up and running them out of the paint, we would be up a few more in the rebound category, but we got to keep them off the boards.
The Raiders clearly a taller team. Is Etchie able to pull that out after what looked like a turnover? She's going to go all the way to the rack and tried to get it over to Jaden McCoy with the no-look over-the-top pass, but it's tipped away. The Raiders clearly a taller team than the Eagles. As a matter of fact, only one player as listed as 6'1" or better. Rochelle Jacob is a freshman center.
Oh, great look right there. I know you were reading off those stats, Rob, but Etchie inbound the pass. Great call on that inbounds play. Found McCoy on a back cut, and a very well-designed inbounds play.
Stomp and pop jumper from Julian Redmond's no good. Jaden McCoy ends up the ball up to Georgia Gale, who is trapped. Gale's going to try to dribble out, but the ball's knocked out of her hands. TCC starting to crank up that half-court pressure now. You're seeing a lot of the presses. It's not an established press, though, Jeff. They're basically waiting to see who's going to come up with the rebound, and they are attacking whoever ends up with the basketball. They're not setting in any specific man or zone-style press. They're just attacking whoever gets the basketball. In this case, it's Shania Mertens.
Uh-oh.
Foul called on the backside. It's going to go against CeCe Mayo. The backside ref said that CeCe Mayo got a little handsy with the defender at mid-court. She was trying to establish a little space to give Georgia Gale and Shania Mertens an outlet pass to the middle of the floor. She gets called for the hand check. Just over a minute and a half to go in the first quarter.
Yeah, I'm looking at this press as well from the Lady Eagles here and just trying to determine exactly what they're doing, and the best term I could come up for is kamikaze. Not really seeing the design in the organization, but it's been effective.
Julian Redmond drives to the rack, is able to split a pair of defenders and go up and earn the opportunity for three the old-fashioned way. The Eagles trail by 3. A substitution. CeCe Mayo will check off. Awatrasi will come back on. So now you've got that taller lineup in for the Lady Raiders with both Jade McCoy, Awatrasi, and Georgia Gale all in. Anastasia Zakharova and Shania Mertens will play in the backcourt.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed, although we are taller, man, Rob, these Lady Eagles are extremely athletic. Watch them around the rim. They get up and crash hard.
And they are unafraid to go to the rack either, both with and without the basketball. Lots of off-ball movement for the Lady Eagles while they set those screens and picks up at the top. Here's McCoy from Zakharova. McCoy's looking for some help. She'll skip it over to Georgia Gale. Gale does not have room to shoot, so she'll reestablish the basketball. Drives to the top. 4 seconds on the shot clock. Trossey's going to have to throw one up here. She does. Can't get it to go, and it's off iron. Come the Eagles back the other way. Quick inside drive and the spin move. Nothing available, so a quick shot over from the three-point line. It's no good for Bradford. Rebounded by Shania Mertens. Mertens going to throw it up to Zakharova on the fast break. Zakharova with the left hand. Gets it to go. Gets the friendly pass off the iron. How about Anastasia Zakharova?
That was pretty. Almost looked like you going to the basket back in the day, Rob.
Grace and elegance. My middle name is Jeff McDonald.
Absolutely.
Almost a turnover there from Jada Perry, but it's reestablished by the Eagles. The three-point effort is no good for Victoria Pierce. Mertens with the rebound. She's looking to dribble straight through the press, and she does. Mertens over to Georgia Gale. Thought Gale might look for the three-pointer. 6 seconds on the game clock. 2 seconds. Shania Mertens going to have to throw one up and does. Gets it to go! Are you kidding me? From the free throw line extended at the buzzer, Shania Mertens finds the bottom of the bucket. Look at that. That is a clutch shot to end the quarter with a pair of points for Shania Mertens. That was a great look at the rack for number 10.
Yeah, man, that actually, watching that shot reminded me of seeing Michael Jordan in the playoffs coming across the floor against Craig Elo and the Cavs, knocking it down at the buzzer to win that playoff ball game. It just kind of had that look to it. She double clutched, put it up, great shot right at the buzzer.
So at the end of the first quarter, it's 19-12 in favor of the Lady Raiders. A bit of a slow start to the quarter. It looked like the Lady Raiders were a little lethargic, and you probably couldn't blame them. Coming off of 2 losses, not a place that any of the girls on this team have been familiar with during the last couple of years here in Niceville, but they're able to overcome that lethargic start, Jeff. They got out of the press a couple of times, created a little momentum, able to get to the rack a few times, come up with some big buckets. Gotta say, so far so good for the Lady Raiders.
No, absolutely. I was very concerned there at the beginning of that first period. Took us a little while to really get going, but once I think Georgia Gale, when she knocked down that three-point shot and got to the line, that really kind of help get us going, along with Etchie and her kind of helping fuel this, kind of get this energy back for these Lady Raiders. And there you see it, 19-12, 7-point lead there here at the beginning of the second period. So looking much better so far.
Georgia Gale with 5, Etchie with 5, and Mertens all have 5. A pair for both Zakharova and Jaden McCoy. The Raiders are 7 of 14 from the floor, 2 of 3 from behind the arc, and 3 of 5 from the stripe in the first quarter. So far so good. Those numbers are better than consistent from what they've been the last few home games you and I have gotten to call, Jeff.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we want to look for here, Rob, is when we get down to about 5 minutes left in this period, and the first 5 minutes of the third period, that's going to kind of tell the tale of where we're going to end up. Can we keep up the energy? Can we get off to a great start in the second half?
Quick inside pass and a good move there out of Jamira McChristine, but she can't get the shot to fall after the defense by Jaden McCoy. So here come the Lady Raiders back the other way. Georgia Gale, Shania Mertens, Anastasia Zakharova working the ball around the three-point line. You've also got Jaden McCoy and Alwa Trossi in the front court. TCC is very willing to step up and put a hand into a face as Georgia Gale launches up a long three to beat the shot clock there, but it won't go, in TCC now with possession.
Yeah, you can see right there from that possession, it's kind of a familiar look from when we get caught up in a half-court game. Our strength is in transition, so I love to see us be able to knock down a few more outside shots, kind of open things up in the paint for McCoy and Trossi.
Good defense from Jaden McCoy underneath. She has gotten herself into a battle with Jada Perry, the 6-footer from Lady Lake, Florida, and that's going to be a competition we're going to keep a very close eye on all night. The battle between Perry and McCoy underneath, or Perry and Trossi when she gets down there. Georgia Gale has gone down. She's got, it looks like she may have been poked in the eye. As soon as she got that rebound, she had a pair of Eagle defenders just collapse right on top of her, and amidst all the chaos, it looks like she may have taken a poke to the eye. So Georgia Gale makes her way into the tunnel and will be replaced on the floor as that pass inside to Jaden McCoy is tipped away from Shania Mertens. We'll see what information we can get you for Georgia Gale as soon as it's made available to us.
Yeah, we got to be careful with those interior passes. We got to get those down on the floor outside of the range of that wingspan of those Lady Eagles.
Pass inside to McCoy. Over to Zakharova for the three. She can't get it to go. It's tipped out and back into Anastasia's hands. She'll give it over to Etchie, back up to Mertens, and they'll reset the offense with a full 23 on the shot clock. Alwa Trossi drives to the rack and tried to go left hand, but right through a middle of a trio of Eagle defenders, and she takes a slap on the wrist, so Alwa Tracy will head to the stripe.
Yeah. Looked like the defender got a little over-anxious, kind of overplayed the pass, and gave Trossi a lane to the basket, and hopefully we can knock down a couple free throws right here.
Trossi yet to find herself on the scoreboard outside of the rebound category. She changes it with that free throw. That is good, and it's an 8-point lead for the Lady Raiders. .16 left in the first half. Alwa Trossi at the stripe. Jaden McCoy is going to compliment her in the front court. And it looks like Coach Burt Walker, is going to play with that bigger interior defense, as TCC has looked like they are going to try everything in their power to get Jada Perry, the center inside, going, but unsuccessfully moving the ball around the perimeter there as it's turned over. Did not appear that the Eagle winger, that's number 20, Daisha Bradford, was prepared for the basketball down in the corner, hit it right in the hands and bounced out of bounds. Zakharova with a pass up to Etchie. Etchie looking to set the offense off of the wing. Etchie outside, inside to Trossi. Trossi to McCoy. McCoy couldn't get the handle, so TCC gets another fast break effort, but they can't get the layup to go. Trossi again just swarmed by Eagle defenders, and again, that's kind of been the name of the game underneath on the offensive side of the rack. As soon as that ball comes down and as soon as a gray jersey touches it, they are just swarmed by blue. And it's one of those things, Jeff, they just don't want to give the Lady Raiders a chance to establish themselves before they get that press placed.
It's working. It's giving us a hard time, even, it's keeping us out of the transition game, of course, like I keep saying, beating it like a dead drum. But it's also forcing us into some bad decisions, like right there with Tallahassee. You saw, fortunately, it went out on the Lady Eagles, but forcing us into some turnovers and some questionable decisions. So
there's Shania Mertens with the turnover. She's going to try to run down and prevent the fast break layup, but is unable to do so. She is all over her counterpart, number 10, Tamiria Johnson, for the TCC Eagles. Mertens was trying to get a little fancy with the handiwork down there on their side of the ball. Gets it tipped before she can go between the legs on the crossover, and it's a free opportunity for the Eagles.
Yeah, all too often you see that happen. It's the ball player with the turnover that tries to hustle back and make up for it, and unfortunately gets called for a foul there. Although, as we just heard, she was arguing adamantly that it was all ball, but that was the same argument I always had, Rob Brown. Never fouled anybody, baby, ever.
I believe that you believe that. Second free throw is short off the iron, and Tallahassee with the board. There's Etchie. Etchie over to Mayo. Mayo's going to drive underneath and go with the right hand and get it to go. Tough shot for CeCe Mayo. Crossed over the left to the right hand under the basket and still got the right hand leaner to fall.
Yeah, and that's not an easy shot. She shot that one off of her right foot.
High arcing three-point launch there by Daisha Bradford won't go. The rebound brought down by Tallahassee, and she's fouled underneath by Jada Perry.
You keep hearing me talk about that, shooting off the left foot or the right foot. If you're right-handed, typically you want to come off that left foot if you're near the basket, going up for a layup or something of the like. Going off your right foot as a right-handed person, it's awkward. Going off your left foot as a left-handed ball player, awkward. And here we go, forcing us into some more bad decisions.
Another turnover there. They were trying to get the ball into Leandra Etchie, but it was up, over, and too high. Etchie then trying to go back the other way and recover the turnover. Ends up having the next personal foul called against her. That is her second, and so she'll be replaced. It looks like Anastasia Zakharova, though. Zakharova on the sideline looks like she may have stepped in some water of some sort or some sort of liquid on the floor because she almost slipped on her way on and is now trying to get the bottom of those Nikes fresh and clean to make her return to the floor.
Yeah, so far, Rob, we're pretty fortunate in this period that the Lady Eagles have not found the net because we've only put 4 points on the board almost halfway through this period, which is kind of tended to be the case.
Good dribble drive there from Daisha Bradford, but she lost the handle underneath, and it's another turnover for the Eagles. That is their 6th on the night. 7 turnovers committed by the Lady Raiders. There goes Shania Mertens over to Zakharova. Zakharova with the pump fake and drives inside for the jumper. It won't go. Mertens on the rebound. Mertens to Mayo. Mayo up to Tallahassee. Tallahasee's going to shoot. No good. Front iron rebounded by Tallahassee, and she was going to go try to get her own offensive second chance.
Yeah, great job by Tallahassee, unfortunately, on the missed basket, but she did not sit there and saw it. Went right after the board, got it, and almost got a bucket. But unfortunately, jump ball called there. Looks like we got a timeout, Rob.
Yeah, and the momentum right now has kind of went back to neutral. The Lady Raiders were on a run for a minute, and despite an 11-point lead, the last couple of minutes have kind of been a back and forth so far. What changed, Jeff McDonald, from the end of the first quarter through midway through the second?
Well, I'll tell you right now, again, it's just the energy from our ladies. When we're not in a transition game, we struggle. Right now, although we're not seeing any made baskets by the Lady Eagles, as soon as we get a rebound down here, a defensive rebound, like you said, they're swarming us, not allowing us to get into that transition game, and it's making it hard on our ladies because right now we're just struggling in a half-court set. We've got 4 points so far in this period. We've got to find a way to get our transition game going. We got to do a better job of getting the rebound, turning, looking up the floor, and getting it out into transition.
6:04 left in the first half of play here. Raiders with an 11-point lead. Eagles again with a lot of off-ball movement, a lot of efforts to set a screen at the top, but they are, as you saw right there, unafraid to drive if they think they have any sort of daylight between them and the rack.
And that's what you do there, that little dribble handoff play where you kind of hand it off at the top of the key. You're trying to clear out the lane with that, create some confusion and open up an opportunity for a drive and a layup. They got it there, just didn't make it count.
Merton's quick jumper won't go, rebounded by TCC. Lady Raiders 40% from the floor on the evening, but holding the Eagles to just 25%. So the numbers advantage right now with the Lady Raiders, although that will up the percentage just a little bit. Nice inside pass to Jada Perry, and when Jada Perry's on the floor, she becomes their biggest threat inside, and it's taken everything that Trossi and McCoy have had to try to defend between the blocks.
Yeah, that was a great look inside by Redmond. Great dribble drive and dish for the easy layup. And just kind of watch here as we are struggling in a half-court game. We're not using our screens effectively. We're hanging on to the ball too long and not knocking down shots. So struggling in a half-court game right now, and it just shows on the scoreboard.
Trossi had a good look to the inside, but CeCe Mayo couldn't get the layup to go on the other end. No problem. That bucket is good, and the Eagles trying to collapse this lead back down a little bit. You see Georgia Gale is back on the floor after getting poked in the eye the last time she was out there. Now it's Trossi, who will take just a minute. Shania Mertens, I apologize. Saw the two of them get confused, but it looks like Mertens may have a calf cramp or something similar going on as she's getting some assistance from the trainer down underneath on the TCC side of the floor. And typically when you see a player have that elbow locked up like that, or that ankle locked up, it's usually a calf cramp, but nope, she can't put any weight on it at all. So she is going to get some help over to the bench. That is not a good look, especially considering just how important she has been so far this evening. Rob Brown, Jeff McDonald with you here at Raider Arena in Niceville, Florida, as the Lady Raiders lead 23-16. And Jeff, we talked about it, slow start for the Lady Raiders. That energy did not seem to be there. And of course, we're talking at a time where they're coming off of a pair of losses, not something they're used to. Came out, end of the first period, seemed to pick it up, find a little bit of energy. Now back to a lull, and all of a sudden that score is ticking closer and closer.
Yeah, it's kind of like we called before. It's during this time that we tend to see a lull in the Lady Raiders. And like I said before, a lot's going to be, the story's going to be told here in the last 5 minutes, 4.5 minutes, to see if the ladies can kind of get things rolling again and finish strong in this period. And when I was growing up playing basketball, they always told me, my head coach always told me that you really set the tone at the end of the second half and the beginning of at the end of the first half and the beginning of the second half, first 3 to 5 minutes is going to tell the tale of what's going to happen. So watch closely. These last 4.5 minutes is going to give us an idea of what the Lady Raiders have in them tonight and give us a glimpse into what might happen. So I just want to see them do a better job when they get the rebounds on the defensive end, Rob, to turn and get the ball up the floor quickly so we can get in the transition game. Lady Eagles doing a great job forcing us into the half-court game, which we struggle. So that's the issue right now for me.
And let's keep in mind that the beginning of the second half has not treated the Lady Raiders well the last few home games. That has been the time where opponents have found some momentum, have been able to come in, tick off the scoreboard just a little bit. We saw it in that last home loss to Gulf Coast. It was almost a comfortable lead, if there is such a thing, at the end of the first half of the Raiders, and then Gulf Coast came in here to start the second half and went on a 6-0 run to start the half and then stole the momentum, ended up stealing a victory away from the Lady Raiders. So now's the time to set the momentum, grow that lead, and prepare yourself for the beginning of the second half, which has not historically been your strong point for the team in gray. Georgia Gale, Anastasia Zakharova working the left-hand side of the floor. Skip over for the long three. No good. It's well short for number 22, Gabriella Sales, her first action of the evening. And on the flip side, you get the quick putback from Julian Redmond. That is Sales' first action of the night. Of course, she has yet to see the floor, so that first shot coming off of a cold shooter. We'll see if she can pick up that momentum a little bit.
Yeah, this is where we want to do something in this half-court set to try to break Georgia Gale open for a shot and get her going again. And again, like I said, when you can get the shots falling outside, opens things up on the inside.
Daisha Bradford able to throw herself into the passing lane and get the steal. She's fouled by Georgia Gale as she had a fast break look at the basket, and that is Gale's first of the afternoon. It's going to send number 20 to the stripe. No, it's not. It's a floor foul. I do apologize. I thought they were in the bonus. They are not in the bonus yet, so it is a floor foul against the Lady Raiders. Little pump fake jumper is no good. We've also got another substitution on the floor. Elijah Shearer, the 5'11 sophomore guard from Tupelo, Mississippi, set to head to Austin Peay up in Tennessee, just north of Nashville after time here at Northwest Florida State. She's checked into the game for the first time. And how about that jumper? All strings for Daisha Bradford.
Yeah, great looking shot. She just kind of lulled Georgia Gale to sleep and put it up in her face. We got to start knocking down some shots, Rob. That's all it boils down to. Looking at our stats so far, we are struggling from the floor. 33% from the three, 38% from the floor overall.
Another jumper, Julian Redmond this time, and she draws the lead down to just one. So after a few minutes ago, we were looking at an 11-point lead, now down to just one, and a technical foul now just called on the floor a moment ago by the near side official. So things getting a little chippy, getting a little verbal. TCC clearly stolen the momentum away from Northwest Florida State. We talked about this before the game. Jeff, this is a very emotional team. They tend to wear their hearts on their sleeves, and it looks like Awatrossi may have gotten carried away there.
Well, I'm looking up, and I'm seeing Georgia Gale at the free throw line. It looked like they called the technical foul on the Lady Raiders.
Yeah, they pointed at the bench. You and I both thought that it was going to be on Awatrossi, but it looks like it's going to be on the other side. So Georgia Gale goes to the stripe and knocks down the free throws, grows the lead back to 2. I'm not exactly sure what happened there. You and I and a few folks in the stands all thought that that was a technical foul being called against the Raider bench, but apparently it was against the Eagles.
Yeah, I looked up and I saw it looked like for us, number 34, CC Mayo, kind of pleading her case, and I thought it was going to be a technical foul on Mayo, but it looks like it's going to be on number 21 possibly from Tallahassee, Jada Perry.
So the Raiders get another opportunity to reestablish themselves. Zakharova in a fight along with Shania Mertens. Mertens is going to drive over to Gale for the long three. No good. Off the back of the glass, off the back of the iron, excuse me.
Yeah, these Lady Eagles are doing a great job of keeping us out of our game on the offensive side of the floor, just playing some strong defense right now.
Right-hander won't go, and CC Mayo ends up with the board. Here's Georgia Gale with another look at the three. Book that one! All good, all strings for Georgia Gale from the corner. That is 10 points on the night for number 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Once again there, you see us getting down the floor quickly off a missed shot and finding Georgia Gale open down there in the corner for a 3. That's what we've got to do. We've got to move the ball down the floor quick, find an open shooter, and let's start knocking them down.
3 3-pointers and a free throw make up the 10 for Georgia Gale. CC Mayo on defense there as TCC will shoot the long 3. Can't get it to go, and it's brought down by Awatrossi over to Zakharova. Zakharova's going to bring it up the left-hand side and pull out, back over to Mertens. Mertens looking inside. There's the pass to Mayo. Mayo's going to go out with the left hand and gets it right through the waiting arms of a TCC defender. CC Mayo gets herself back on the board.
And that's what you see us doing now, Rob. That's what we call a secondary break. That's where you get out into not your fast break, but the secondary break where you're getting down the floor quickly in transition and is creating some better shots for us rather than breaking down and setting up a half-court offense.
TCC resetting their offense here as the momentum shifts back, an 8-point lead, and a travel called on the way to the rack against Julian Redmond, so another turnover for the Eagles. That is their 7th, but 8 turnovers committed by the Raiders, so the turnover battle has gone back and forth. Unfortunately for TCC, their turnovers keep coming at big points in the ball game.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the other fortunate thing, if I'm looking down here at the stat sheet too, Robs, I see that the Lady Eagles are struggling from the floor, 16% from the three-point line, 35.7 from the floor.
Georgia Gale is in fuego. Another 3 from the corner. The hot spot in play for number 1 this evening. She is on fire so far tonight. Georgia Gale with 13 points, putting this team on her back, Jeff McDonald, and the lead now back to 11 with inside of 50 seconds left to play in the first half.
Yeah, absolutely, Rob. That's the key. I'm telling you, Georgia Gale heats up like this, you're going to see the inside open up. and you'll see Jaden McCoy get more opportunities, and then you're going to see Chauncey with more opportunities inside the paint. They're going to be drawing the defense out, opening things up, so we can really get going here and extend this lead. Great to see our ladies get rolling finally in this second period. Like I said, the last 4.5 minutes is going to tell the tale, and I can tell you these Lady Raiders are here to play tonight, and they're looking like a better team than they have the last couple ball games.
You were pulling out Georgia Gale as a key to this game before it even started. You talked about the last few games where she's really kind of struggled to get anything going from behind the arc. Tonight, not a problem. The Lady Raiders are 4 of 11 from behind the stripe, but almost all of them have come so far from Georgia Gale. You've also got a 3 out of Shania Mertens. 1 of 6 from behind the arc are the Lady Eagles. They're also 10 of 28 from the floor, but not much better for the Raiders. 11 of 27 are the Lady Raiders. One of the big differences here, 7 of 9 from the stripe are the Lady Raiders, just 1 of 5 from the free throw line so far for the Eagles. So that seems to be really the one big advantage for the most part. All the other stats are relatively similar.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm looking down at the threes. We got 4. I think Georgia Gale has 3 of those. So she's keeping us in it, keeping this lead up for us.
Physical defense from TCC underneath. Anastasia Zakharova over to Shearer. That's a 3-point effort for Shania Mertens. It won't go. We've got 21 seconds left on the clock, and the shot clock turned off. Shearer over to Mayo, and we'll reset. Shania Mertens is limping. That left foot is bothering her. She is limping around a little bit right now. See if it affects her. 8 seconds left on the game clock. Mertens is looking for some help, and here come the Eagles swarming. Zakharova is going to have to help. The ball's on the floor, and we got a jump ball. Possession arrow will stay with the Lady Raiders, but inside of 2 seconds now left on the clock, we're going to have a substitution on the floor. Jaden McCoy will check in. Georgia Gale will check in. CeCe Mayo and Shania Mertens will come off. Mertens was limping on that left ankle just a moment ago before she got involved in that scrape. Don't know if she would have been able to escape it if that foot was holding up, but she'll come off as the Lady Raiders will try to get something quick up at the basket. McCoy on the inbound over to Gale. Gale for 3. Can't get it to fall. It felt like Georgia Gale could do no wrong there, and that was going to find a way to drop for it, but it does not, and that is the half. 33-22 is your halftime score as of right now. Northwest Florida State seems to have all the momentum. We had a lull about halfway through that second quarter, Jeff McDonald, where the Lady Eagles were really able to pick it up. That defensive tenacity went through the roof for the Eagles. They were swarming every time that a rebound went to the team in gray, and you could see that it was really starting to frustrate the Lady Raiders just a little bit. But Georgia Gale knocks down a couple of threes. The offense picks up. All of a sudden, that lead grows right back.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. If you're a shooter, you keep shooting. They're eventually going to start falling, and Georgia Gale continues to shoot, knocks them down, and starts to open things up in transition for us where we're going to the basket, and they're more worried about our ladies on the perimeter, so things open up. We can start finding some of our ladies on the inside, and you saw a little bit of that near the end of the first half. And, again, like I continue to say, what happens here at the beginning of the second half is going to tell the tale. Look, in the first 3 to 5 minutes is going to tell if we're still in this ball game, if we're going to finish strong or not. But this is where we either take control or we begin to let things go.
Numbers on your screen there from the floor so far for the Lady Raiders. 11 of 29, just a touch better than the TCC Eagles. 10 of 28, 4 of 13 from the three-point line, but 3 of those have come from Georgia Gale, who has really put this team on her back tonight. So again, an 11-point lead, and we're going to give you the rest of those stats coming up here in just a minute. But before we do, we'll welcome a special guest here to Emerald Coast TV, head coach for the men's team, Coach Steve DeMayo. Coach, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Our pleasure. Thanks so much. And let's talk a little bit about where your team stands so far. Obviously, it's a undefeated season in conference play so far. TCC coming into the house tonight. What is the game plan for this team versus some of the other teams in Panhandle Conference that we've gotten the chance to broadcast so far?
You know, they're very talented. They're very well coached. They got a new coach, Zach, who does an incredible job taking over from Mark White, and they shoot a lot of threes. So we have to first of all defend the three-point line, and when you shoot a lot of threes, you get a lot of long rebounds. And you know, as we lost the game to Shelton when they took a bunch of threes, they got that last three at the end. They missed. They got the rebound and kicked it out. So we have to be on our toes and be ready to rebound the ball. And keep them off the boards. If we do that, we're going to get a lot of transition buckets.
A lot of aggressive defense that we've seen out of your team the last couple of weeks, and then you mentioned that transition offense. That's almost kind of felt like it's a key for you guys. A lot of good chemistry leads to those fast break points, a lot of creativity coming down the floor. Is that something you guys have worked on this year?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, transition basketball, especially in junior college, you can't live without it. If you don't have it, you're going to win many games. But, we've done a really good job of executing that stuff in the half court. And but I really want us to get out and run, and I want to use that bench tonight. I think we're going to play all 10 guys early. I want to press a bunch. We're going to trap. We're going to keep them on their toes as well. And we have great depth. And I like when we play at home. I think we can play a little faster at home. So we'll see what happens though. But it's going to be a tough test because Tally's playing for their lives. If they win this game, they've definitely got a chance at second place.
Tallahassee right now 4-3 in the conference, of course, undefeated 7-0 are the Raiders. Let's talk about some of the individuals on this roster because this team has a lot of personality, and Jeff and I have talked a number of times about the emotion of this team. Sure. And not necessarily a team that wears its heart on its sleeve, but you can feel them getting into rhythm, and sometimes when things don't go right, the streak goes for the other squad, kind of getting themselves out of it just a little bit. One of the most emotional guys on this team is Tyree Jackson, and he's a guy we've seen. He can create from anywhere on the floor. Talk to me a little bit about Tyree Jackson, what he means to this team, because he has been fun to watch this year.
He is. He's an explosive player. He can do anything. He can shoot the ball. He can pass the ball. He can dribble the ball. He dunks it. He defends. I mean, he's an incredible rebounder. What we need from Tyree is we need a little more consistency because there's days he looks like he's the best player in the country, and then there's days he fouls out because he gets a technical and now he's on the bench sitting next to me and cheering. He's one of the best cheerleaders in the country, too. But I keep telling him I don't want him on the bench with us. I want him on the court because of exactly what you said. He's a fun guy to watch. He really is. And he brings energy to the team. He is our wild card. When he's on and he's playing well, we are very hard to beat.
Rob Brown alongside the men's head coach, Coach Steve DeMayo. Another guy I really enjoy watching play is Chris Duarte. This is a cat who, again, is not able to create from anywhere on the floor, but I've also watched him. He is phenomenal at seeing things develop away from the floor, off the ball, and then giving other guys opportunities. And he is an unselfish basketball player. It's one of the things I love about this team, Coach. Unselfishness all over the floor, and Chris Duarte kind of seems to be one of the leaders in that department.
Yeah, Chris is a great passer, and Chris doesn't necessarily have to have the ball to score the ball. He likes to create for other people and touch the ball, and sometimes it's the hockey assist, the pass that leads to the pass, that he starts the first, so, it's one of those deals where Javion's a hell of a passer. Pig could pass the ball, Tyree Jackson, I think all of Sam Baker's actually one of our best passes as well, so it's contagious. And then when we're making our threes, it definitely opens up the court a lot. But Chris is a fun guy to coach because you could play him inside, you can play him outside, he can make tough shots. I tell the guys don't take long twos. He makes those long twos on a regular basis, and his shot's gotten better because he puts the time in. And if you put the time into it and you're talented, they're going to get better. And he's gotten better from last year. Took a big step this year.
What is, and we'll get you one more question, we'll let you go start working with your team. Yeah, you're good.
It's a little too loud.
Gotcha. Okay. What is your favorite thing about coaching this team?
It's a double-edged sword because I really, really like this group, and as you just said, they're fun to watch. And when they're playing well, they're playing really well. But I think they're a good group of guys, and they all care about each other. So that's probably my favorite thing. But I think I also have to do a better job of making sure that I keep putting my foot in their throat when they get a little loose, because when we get loose, sometimes we have a tendency to take a step backwards. But we've got a great group of guys that they're doing an incredible job in the community. Every time I go to a restaurant in town here, every time I'm in Destin, they've met one of our players and they represent themselves well. Same thing on campus, walking into the bookstore, the Barnes & Noble on campus. Our guys are everywhere. They handle themselves well. And even the professors have a lot of good things to say about them. And obviously, we always have one or two guys. But for real, I mean, they're here for a reason to get their education, but also learn how to be people and develop relationships. And really, that's what I'm most proud of, because they handle themselves well on the road, especially, as long as at home.
This place has really become a basketball bastion, Coach, and it has to do with the players. It has to do with the coaching staff, and it has to do with Ramsey Ross and all the fans that come here. What's it been like to be able to coach in this environment?
Yeah, no, it definitely helps. It definitely gives you a boost of energy. And if you're going to play college basketball, especially if you're going to play junior college basketball, why wouldn't you want to come to a place that holds 2,500 people, and on most league nights, you get 2,000 people at least. And a lot of places you go, they've got 32 people in the stands. I can count them on.
Right.
And then they've got one side of stands open. I mean, we got a band that's as good as any band in the country. We've got the video board here that's incredible. and we got the score. We got the video board there and on the scoreboard there. So it's a great place to believe. It's a great place to coach. And as you just said, Ramsey Ross is an incredible boss to work for, and Dr. Stevenson's pumps a lot of money into the program as well. And we have a great support system. You know, tonight being Wednesday night, we might not have as big of a crowd as we had on the Saturdays, just because it's church night in town. And the weather broke, so it's a little warmer. We have a softball game going on. There's a few other things going on in town today, but we've had incredible fan support, and it's really, really helped us out.
Absolutely. Coach, thanks so much for joining us for a few minutes. We do appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Good luck tonight. We'll see you next game as well. It's Coach Steve DeMayo, coach of the men's squad. Of course, they'll be facing off with TCC. Coming up at 7:30, we'll have all that action for you. We got a few more minutes until the tip of the second half. We're going to take a real quick break. We'll come back. Jeff and I will run you through the final first half stats and get you all set up for tip of the second half between the Northwest Florida State College Lady Raiders and the TCC Eagles from Tallahassee. My name is Rob Brown. You're watching Emerald Coast TV. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Thanks for sticking around.
This is where you live, learn, and play. Northwest Florida State College now offers a degree in hospitality and tourism, where you can train with a nationally recognized college in a globally recognized resort area. This is where you start building the foundation for your future. This is Northwest Florida, and the best is our standard. Visit bearaider.com to learn more.
Did you know Northwest Florida State College waives all state, college, and course fees for all active duty military tuition assistance students? NWF is committed to serving our military. Visit nwfsc.edu or call 850-678-5111 to learn more. Register today to design your future at Northwest Florida State College.
Vacation you can count on. Destin, Fort Walton Beach, Okaloosa Island. Visit emeraldcoastfl.com.
This is where you live, learn, and play. Northwest Florida State College now offers a degree in hospitality and tourism, where you can train with a nationally recognized college in a globally recognized resort area. This is where you start building the foundation for your future. This is Northwest Florida, and the best is our standard. Visit bearaider.com to learn more.
Did you know Northwest Florida State College waives all state, college, and course fees for all active duty military tuition assistance students? NWF is committed to serving our military. Visit nwfsc.edu or call 850-678-5111 to learn more. Register today to design your future at Northwest Florida State College.
A vacation you can count on. Destin, Fort Walton Beach, Okaloosa Island. Visit emeraldcoastfl.com.
This is where you live, learn, and play. Northwest Florida State College now offers a degree in hospitality and tourism, where you can train with a nationally recognized college in a globally recognized resort area. This is where you start building the foundation for your future. This is Northwest Florida, and the best is our standard. Visit bearaider.com to learn more.
Did you know Northwest Florida State College waives all state, college, and course fees for all active duty military tuition assistance students? NWF is committed to serving our military. Visit nwfsc.edu or call 850-678-5111 to learn more. Register today to design your future at Northwest Florida State College.
A vacation you can count on. Destin, Fort Walton Beach, Okaloosa Island. Visit emeraldcoastfl.com.
This is where you live, learn, and play. Northwest Florida State College now offers a degree in hospitality and tourism, where you can train with a nationally recognized college in a globally recognized resort area. This is where you start building the foundation for your future. This is Northwest Florida, and the best is our standard. Visit bearaider.com to learn more.
Did you know Northwest Florida State College waives all state, college, and course fees for all active duty military tuition assistance students? NWF is committed to serving our military. Visit nwfsc.edu or call 850-678-5111 to learn more. Register today to design your future at Northwest Florida State College.
Welcome back to Raider Arena, ladies and gentlemen, where we are just a tick under 1 minute away from the beginning of the second half as the Lady Raiders play host to the Tallahassee Community College Eagles basketball squad. 33-22 is your score at the half. 11 of 29 from the floor are the Lady Raiders. 10 of 28 from the floor are the Eagles. Not a lot of differences statistically. Jeff McDonald out-rebounding them 22-16, out-shooting them from the line, 7 of 9 from the free throw line, 1 of 5 for the Eagles, and behind the stripe, 1 of 6 of the Lady Eagles, 4 of 13 are the Raiders. So for the most part, it seems that the Lady Raiders are winning in all the categories, maybe not by a lot, but they're doing enough in every bit of the basketball fundamentals to keep this score where it needs to be. However, we've heard that story before. We saw that last time we were here, and out came the Gulf Coast Community College Commodores, who just immediately went on a run and stole the lead. So it'll be interesting to see how the Lady Raiders respond in the second half here. There's an immediate inside effort from the Eagles, and it's blocked away, knocked away by Awatrossi. That was number 45, DeAsia Reed, with the first possession. There's Georgia Gale. She had 3 3-pointers in the first half. Really should have had 4, but the last one at the buzzer just barely found its way out of the rim. So Georgia Gale is going to play a key in this half. 10 seconds on the shot clock as Shania Mertens, who was struggling with that left ankle last time around. She's going to go ISO, left hand right through a pair of defenders and get knocked away. I don't know if you saw that, Jeff. She was kind of signaling Awatrossi to get out of the way, and Trossi kind of rolled her eyes and walked over to the side. She didn't think Shania Mertens wanted the ISO, but Shania decided to go one-on-one to the rack.
Yeah, that's where I sometimes see them struggle a little bit, and the spacing on the floor when our guards are driving. Maybe you got to know how to step off, make yourself available for a pass, make some room for the dribble drive. But, yeah, I didn't pick up on that, but I could see where that might be an issue.
Shania Mertens at the line, misses the first one. The second one is good, drops it through the bucket.
I got a little clarification on that technical foul there. It was a double technical earlier. Number 21, Jada Perry from Tallahassee Community College was indeed ejected. So it was a double tech, Jada Perry, and for us, I believe it was number 34, CC Mayo, and but Perry has been ejected.
That is big news because Perry was carrying that team through the first half. She was easily the strong point for the Lady Eagles, as that three-point effort is no good for Nesma Khalifa. Khalifa, one of only 2 players on the Eagle roster listed as 6'1" or better. She hails from Alexandria, Egypt, a 6'4" freshman center. The other 6'1" is Rochelle Jacob, a 6'1" freshman center from Winter Haven, Florida. This is number 45, DeAsia Reed, headed to the stripe for a pair after getting fouled underneath. First one is off to the right and no good. Speaking of CC Mayo, she'll check back in, replacing Jaden McCoy, who will head to the bench. Yeah, that's a big loss, Jada Perry. That's a big loss for the Eagles. Like we said, Jeff, she was really kind of having that offense run through her, fighting both Awa Trossi and Jaden McCoy underneath as Georgia Gale gives it to Trossi. Trossi with that little spin move and the pass over to Mayo. Mayo back up to Mertens. Mertens with the long deuce, won't go off the iron, and it's a fight underneath, a foul called under the bucket. That one is going to be, it looks like, against CC Mayo for a push in the back, and it is.
Yeah, something that you'll notice on that last possession, Rob, our ladies tend to get a little too unselfish. There are a few times there where we had a lady in a position for a good open shot. They didn't take it. I think we're going to need to see them begin taking those shots, because the longer we hold the ball, the closer we get to that shot clock running down. You've seen that a lot of times tonight, getting down and us taking some not so good shots to get it up for the shot clock violation.
Long two is good for Daisha Bradford. Yeah, to be honest, we really haven't seen a lot of shot clock violations out of this team. We really don't usually see them take the shot clock down under 5 seconds or so. They're usually working at a fast pace to get shots off before that. But this Eagle team, the way they swarm the basketball, like you saw right there, has kind of created some situations where they do. Look at that, Leandra Etchie for Trey from the corner. Good shot from number 2.
Yeah, don't usually see her pull it up from deep like that, but she was wide open. A great look from Trossi, and great job of knocking it down, young lady.
Ouch, that is a pulled groin or hamstring right there. It looks like it was, number 20, Daisha Bradford, went down hard, and she is slowly making her way back down to this side of the floor. There's a pass over to Trossi, and Trossi can't get the right-hander to go. DeAsia Reed with the pickup.
Yeah, Trossi doesn't really have the touch right now around the basket like she usually does. Struggling a little bit tonight.
Awa Trossi 0 of 3 in the first half, 0 of 4 now in the game from the floor. Just 2 points both from the stripe. It has not been her evening shooting the basketball. Fortunately for her, Georgia Gale has shot the ball well so far this evening. We've also seen some pick-me-up out of a couple of other players. 5 for Etchie, 5 for Mertens as well, 4 for CC Mayo off the bench. Ball found its way back into the depths of Raider Arena, so had to go hunt it down before they could get it going. Got a little sweat on the court from where number 20, Daisha Bradford, went down just a couple of minutes ago, losing the basketball.
We got the Zebras earning the check tonight. Calling the game is not enough. We're going to need you to get out there and wipe down the floor. Thank you, ma'am.
Just over 7 minutes left to go. 25-37 Raiders on top. Here's Georgia Gale working the top of the key. Over to Shania Mertens with Bradford on her back. Pass over to Etchie. Etchie was trying to fight off the screen, and just a bit of miscommunication there. I actually don't mind that turnover, Jeff, as much as you cannot mind a turnover. Etchie thought she was coming off the screen and rolling to the rack. On the flip side, Mertens thought she was going to step back and off the three, and the reality, Jeff, was both of those shots were open.
Right. And you might have heard my deep sigh here on the mic. Those drive me insane. She's wide open coming off that screen, and, she did the right thing of kind of rubbing on the player, trying to stay as close as she could, and that pass was just nowhere close. So those drive me crazy. You don't have to hate it, but I do.
Pass over to the corner. 4 seconds on the shot clock for the Eagles. Now down to 1. She gets off the left-hander, but a travel called on number 25, Deshona Washington Polk, before she got the desperation flip up to the rack. We talked a second ago about Jada Perry for the Eagles, who has been ejected from this game, who was a presence down on the inside. Now they are trying to find anybody who can go down low and battle with Jaden McCoy and Awa Trossi, and so far the Eagles have not done that in this half.
Yeah, huge loss for the Lady Eagles there. That's why it's just so important to stay calm, remain cool. Things happen in a ball game that get you frustrated and upset, but you just got to, keep your composure and you're not just hurting yourself, you're hurting your team when you do that. So.
Shania Mertens went down hard again and again, is holding that lower left leg. Remember, at the end of the second quarter, it looked like she came down on her ankle, or it cramped, or she twisted it or something. Not able to get a report yet. We're working on finding out what happened. That time she drove to the rack, went up between a trio of Eagle defenders and came down hard on that left leg, and she is going to need help to get off the floor from a couple of teammates. Not quite sure what happened there to Shania Mertens, but she went down hard, and that left ankle, bottom left leg is really bothering Shania Mertens. So she'll head to the bench, and that is a tough loss for the Lady Raiders. Shania Mertens has been kind of one of those players that's really acted as, if you will, pardon the expression, kind of the glue. She can do a little bit of everything. She's very important to the offense. She's also a tenacious defender, and that's going to make it very, very difficult for the Raiders to work without Shania Mertens.
Yeah, she's continued to favor that left foot, since the end of the first half. So many things that could be going on there. It could be an ankle sprain. You kind of pray that might just be the case. You've seen a lot lately happen in the league. You saw John Wall the other day. It was reported he tore his Achilles tendon just
season over
walking around the house. It's crazy. I busted one of those a while back, and
yeah, but you're old.
It's painful. I'm just going to pretend I didn't hear that, but it's painful and it's a long recovery.
That's Jamira McChristine with the little right-handed baby hook. She gets it to go. We're keeping an eye on Shania Mertens over on the bench receiving treatment from the trainers. They are really working on that left ankle, and it seems like every time they move her, she kind of grimaces in pain. You can see her there on your screen on the top with the trainer down in front of her working on that ankle. So we'll update that as soon as we get any fresh information for you. On the flip side, here is Leandra Etchie running the offense for the Lady Raiders. Pick for CC Mayo. Tried to get it to Mayo, but Mayo well guarded, so she gives it up to Georgia Gale. Gale with the right-hander at the buzzer for the shot clock, but it won't go. However, Gale draws the foul. So what was a desperation buzzer beater to avoid the shot clock violation is instead going to send Georgia Gale to the stripe for a pair.
Yeah, I'll tell you, these Lady Eagles continuing to play strong man defense, making it hard on us to get off some good shots. And you saw again right there, letting the shot clock run down, and Georgia Gale getting bailed out there with the foul, getting to the line. Unfortunately, missed the front end of 2 shots.
11-point lead once again for the Raiders. And in fairness, Jeff, we talked about the fact that the beginning of the second half has not treated the Lady Raiders well in their homestands so far this year. But with Jada Perry out for the Eagles, it's been a bit of a different story this time around.
Yeah, I mean, we're off to a decent start here in the third period. I'd like to see us get heated up. We've scored, 6 points so far in this second half, and fortunately we're playing some good defense, and only, 5 points on the board for the Lady Eagles. So you just call it even so far in this period.
Long three-pointer no good for the Eagles, and Etchie's going to get the rebound and reset. Anastasia Zakharova in the backcourt with her. CC Mayo, Jaden McCoy, Georgia Gale all on the floor for the Lady Raiders as well. There's a pass inside to Mayo. She's able to hang on to it. Slings out to the three-point line, and Georgia Gale banks another one. She is money from the three-point line. That is another three-pointer for Georgia Gale, who, as you called before, Jeff, a key to the game. She has proven so far.
Yes, absolutely, and that's what we need more of, her knocking down that perimeter shot. Like I said, hopefully that'll open things up for us inside and kind of start to draw this great man defense from the Lady Eagles out to the perimeter so we can start dumping it down to CC Mayo and Jaden McCoy and Albatrossi, kind of get everybody involved here tonight. But it's so good to see her get started here in the second half, knocking one down. So she's definitely on fire tonight.
Georgia Gale the last few games has not, I don't want to use the word struggle, but the three-pointer hasn't come easy to her. So it's nice to see her return to that kind of solid flow she has from that three-point line. She's got such a nice shot when she gets a second to establish her footing, and she's proved it tonight. 17 points for Georgia Gale, putting this team on her back. Etchie has 8, Zakharova has 3, McCoy with a pair, and CC Mayo with 4 are your 5 Lady Raiders on the floor right now. The double team down in the corner. It's a desperation pass across the top of the line. Wall makes its way back to the top of the 3, and that three-pointer is good for Daisha Bradford.
Bradford did a full split while in the air, knocking that one down. That was an interesting looking shot, but hey, it fell.
Leandra Etchie a little out of control on her way to the rack and ends up throwing it from the bottom of the net up through the rim the wrong way. Coach Walker not thrilled about Leandra Etchie's run there, so here's Awa Tracy who's going to check into the game. We'll see who Trossi is going to replace here in just a minute. I suspect it's going to be Jaden McCoy, and that is the case, is without Jada Perry, it seems that Coach Walker is going to send one of his two centers in at a time, as they already own the height advantage. Might as well keep one with fresh legs if you need it late in the basketball game.
Yeah, absolutely. Been doing a lot of substituting in this game so far. Trying to keep fresh legs on the floor.
CC Mayo goes to the rim and is fouled on her way underneath. Had a kind of a bad shooting angle and leaned out into a defender to draw the foul. Good basketball awareness from CC Mayo.
Yeah, CC Mayo is so slippery around the basket. Oftentimes I'm watching her take it to the hole and I'm thinking she's not going to get that one up, and it gets up off the glass. So she's great around the bucket. Very creative, does a great job of creating those shot opportunities for herself.
And knocks down her free throws as well. Front end is good. Just over 3.5 minutes left to go here in the third quarter of play. Extends the lead out to 13, does number 34.
You know, Rob, I think at the end of this period, we're going to take a minute. You know, every week we get these little sheets that tell us about the upcoming game, and they're giving us a little scoop, inside scoop about Georgia Gale. We'll share that here at the end of this period. How about that?
Sounds good as TCC reestablishes themselves on the offensive side. The lead's starting to slip further and further away, and that's going to be a tip ball out from underneath. Awa Trossi was able to get her hand on it in the passing lane. So 15 seconds on the shot clock as TCC takes it out from underneath the rack.
Yeah, you could tell that the Lady Eagles, Rob, are just really the flow that they had going somewhat in the first half is gone with the absence of Perry. Great shot there, though, by number 23, Redmond.
When Perry was on the floor, the Eagles were able to rely on her to basically own the space between the blocks down inside the paint. Without her, they really haven't found anybody to play in that dominant position. There's another, almost a turnover. CC Mayo with the hustle to save that ball from going out of bounds. Without Perry underneath to kind of dominate the paint, the Eagles really haven't been able to create any off-ball movement. There's the pick and roll, and it just took too long to develop. Leandra Etchie, and we talked about that emotion. There it is out of Etchie. Awa Trossi did not come off the pick and roll when she had a chance, and Etchie just screams, "Go!"
Right. We got to do a better job on that when they're curling up at the top, coming off the screen, headed to the basket. We're not leading them with the pass. That's why you're seeing these near turnovers. We got to do a better job of leading them with a nice bounce pass towards the basket so they can catch the ball and do something with it.
It's almost as if there's just too much miscommunication. You've got girls coming off of the screen, and we've seen it now. It's happened twice in front of us where they've either thrown it because they thought the guard coming off the screen was going to go to the rack and there's nobody there, or they think she's going to step back behind the three and there's nobody there. That's twice in the third quarter that we've seen a turnover come from that spot.
Absolutely.
Zakharova is able to get it over to CC Mayo to reset the offense. Leandra Etchie will take the point guard position here. Etchie over to Zakharova. She's open. I thought she might have turned to shoot that one up. Instead, she looks inside to Etchie, but Etchie gets collapsed on. Awa Trossi did not shoot the three. She's going to dribble, drive, and spin move inside with the ball knocked out of her hands, and the offense will reset. 7 seconds on the shot clock. $1:45 left in the half.
And that's where, again, I get a little frustrated when I see a shooter wide open with the ball just a step behind the three-point line, not taking it. Knock that down.
Etchie brings it inbounds to CC Mayo, who is wide open underneath the rack and gets the kiss off the glass for another deuce. It's an inside pass, and the prayer up at the rim from Deasia Reed is no good, but she's fouled in the process, so Reed will go to the stripe. That one is going to be called on Awa Trossi, the 6'2 sophomore from Toulouse, France. Awa Trossi, a target of the LSU Tigers after her career comes to its conclusion here in Niceville. First free throw is good for Deja Reed.
Yeah, she's certainly, when you sit back here and you watch her, you know, she's certainly an SEC caliber ball player. You know, tonight she's struggling, but typically she's very consistent and can be counted on by her teammates. And here at Northwest Florida State College, excited to see her at the next level.
Deja Reed got the rebound on her own free throw. Set up Daisha Bradford for the three. Bradford missed, and then Deja Reed went and got another rebound, and now is headed right back to the charity stripe. That's a good hustle possession for Deja Reed and the Tallahassee Community College Eagles.
She's down there banging Rob, working hard and doing everything she can to try to get the Lady Eagles back in this thing.
First free throw is well off to the left, no good for Deja Reed. We talked about a number of times, and we can't not tell you how big of an impact the loss of Jada Perry for TCC has been. They're trying to replace that role with Deja Reed, and she has certainly done her part to hustle down underneath. And we've got another whistle. That's going to be a foul and over the back called against Jamira McChristine for the Eagles. No, incorrect. I changed. They called that on Georgia Gale, and I'm not exactly sure how they came up with that call. Neither is the crowd there. Georgia Gale was on the other side of the floor. I don't know how they got that call. So instead of the turnover, that. Sometimes though, you almost wish they'd be a little more selfish, and Zach Rowe is one of them. She's got a shooter's touch from outside the three-point line, but traditionally, and we've seen it so far in the last three possessions, whenever she gets the ball to the line, her first look is pass every time. She's always looking pass. And instead of pass on that one, we'd have both liked to see her light up one of those threes that have treated the Raiders pretty well so far this evening.
Yeah, absolutely, Rob. I think she's got to start looking for her own shot. First half, she missed a couple way short, and I think that's just that timidness that she's got in her. She's got to trust herself. We know she can shoot it. She just got to let it fly. Like I said earlier, we're going to talk a little bit about Georgia Gale. Earlier, you mentioned Georgia Gale. She's headed to UCF when she's done with her career here at Northwest Florida State College, so that's exciting. But Some of the questions they asked her here, I always love these, are pretty interesting. If you were an Olympic athlete, what sport would you want to compete in besides basketball? Georgia Gale said she would be a show jumper.
What is a show jumper? That's a horse thing, right?
I believe so.
Be a horse thing.
Got to be. Maybe it's something they do in England. I don't know. Next, what is your favorite TV show? And I don't know. I'm gonna have to have a discussion with Georgia Gale about this one. But Keeping Up with the Kardashians. No, thank you.
You're a little bit out of the demographic, Jeff.
I am. Anyhow, next, if you won the lottery, what is the first thing you would do? And I love this one. Fly my parents here on a private jet. Good job, young lady. Great daughter. Sounds like she certainly is. If you could have one superpower, what would it be? Teleportation.
That is the correct answer, by the way. That is easily the correct answer.
I could live with that.
Yep.
And then lastly, what is the top item on your bucket list? And she wants to visit Jamaica. So
we are back underway in the fourth quarter, a little bit from Georgia Gale, who is having herself a night this evening. 17 points for Georgia Gale so far. Listen to these stats from the end of the third quarter. From the floor, 14 of 38 are the Lady Raiders. 14 of 39 are the Lady Eagles. So in terms of field goal percentage, they're right all over each other. The difference, 2 of 11 from the three-point line of the Lady Eagles, 6 of 15. That's a travel there against Awatrossi. 2 of 11 from the three-point line are the Eagles. 6 of 15 from the three-point line are the Lady Raiders, including 4 of 8 from Georgia Gale. And 4 of 13 from the stripe versus 12 of 17. Those two stats are really the only difference in the ballgame. Rebounds are relatively close for the most part. Other than that, it's just a matter of the three-pointers falling and the opportunities from the free throw line going the way of the Lady Raiders.
Yeah, Lady Eagles certainly struggling from the floor tonight, and obviously from the free throw line as well, leaving a lot of points out there on the floor. And you can't do that against these Lady Raiders.
TCC Mayo gets it up at the rack, but it just won't fall. Back on the other side, the jumper is no good for the Eagles, and we've got a foul call underneath on the floor from the far side official. Looks like that one's going to go against Jaden McCoy. That's going to be McCoy's second foul of the afternoon. On checks Awatrossi to replace McCoy after that foul.
Yeah, those whistles are getting warm down underneath the Lady Eagles basket for sure. Not getting many down here on the other end, but that one there was a little questionable in my mind. McCoy didn't seem to do anything other than hustle and get her hands on the ball.
So here's the inside rebound to De'Asia Reed, and Reed is going to be fouled on the floor, and there's another foul from the backside official. Coach Walker telling the ladies on defense, keep your hands up. We don't need to foul right now. You don't want to put them in bonus too early in the fourth period and let them earn their way back into this game from the free throw stripe, although they have not shot well, nor have they gotten many opportunities from the line, have the Eagles. 4 of 13 from the stripe. TCC Mayo comes up with the ball up to Zakharova, over to Etchie. Etchie with a quick pass inside to Trossi, but Trossi didn't go up. Zakharova had an open look. She didn't shoot, and they'll reset the offense. Both Trossi and Zakharova had an open look at the basket. Neither took it.
Hey, listen, Rob Brown, when I was a kid, my coach always told me, when you catch the ball, the very first thing you do is you turn and you face the basket. If Trossi simply turns and faces the basket, she'll find that she's wide open underneath all by herself. And again, it's that whole idea of maybe being a little too unselfish.
Both Trossi and Zakharova both had an open look at the rack, and neither one of them took the shot, both instead of opting to pass back up to Leandra Etchie. So it's TCC with a chance to try to rein this thing back down to within 10 points. Jumper from the free throw line extended is good for Julian Redmond, and it is a 10-point lead for the Lady Raiders. Georgia Gale, who has been the hot hand for the Raiders this evening, is going to kick it over to Trossi. Trossi with a jumper, and it's well off the mark. And a turnover there is Cece Mayo knocked it out of the hands of number 25, Deshauna Washington Polk. So the Eagles will get the inbound.
Yeah, Trossie just definitely not feeling it tonight from the field. Fortunately, I've looked down here on the stat sheet. She's definitely rebounding the ball well, but she's got to knock down some shots. We're going to need her down the stretch here to be able to count on her inside the paint, knocking down those shots. So it makes it tough for us to open things up on the outside for Georgia Gale and Zarkova to knock down their shots and get opportunities if she's not knocking them down on the inside. So
knockdown for number 23, Julian Redmond, as time expired on the shot clock, and we're back to a single-digit lead. This is exactly what we were concerned about happening at the beginning of the third quarter. Instead, here we find ourselves with half of the fourth quarter remaining, and the Eagles are climbing their way back into this matchup.
Yeah, at times we really become our own worst enemy out here, and we're just lackadaisical in a sense, handling the ball, bringing it down. That last turnover was just really doesn't make sense. We're just not taking care of the ball. We're not, taking good open shots when we have them. Or it's definitely seeing the Lady Raiders struggle to start this fourth period, and don't need that. Got to finish strong here if we're going to finish off the Lady Eagles from Tallahassee Tallahassee Community College.
I don't want to be accused of being a homer on the broadcast here, but I'll tack on to what you just said just a moment ago, Jeff, and it's this. In the past handful of games where we've seen I don't want to call it a collapse, but certainly the momentum shift in the third and fourth quarters for the Lady Raiders, most of it is mental mistakes. It's not being out-talented. It's not being out-basketballed. They're just mental breakdowns, coming off of screens and diving the wrong way, not taking open looks at the basket, giving away turnovers on fast breaks instead of pulling the ball back out and resetting the offense. The majority of the problems that these Lady Raiders have faced in the last few games, and certainly in the last 5 minutes of play here in the fourth quarter, have all been self-inflicted wounds.
You're absolutely right. Like I said, we're kind of our own worst enemy right now. Just unforced errors you continue to see on the part of these Lady Raiders. So this is where we got to regroup, get our heads back on tight, and get this lead back up. Right now, we're only up 8 points, and the Lady Eagles are on fire. Number 23, Julian Redmond, knocking down the last two shots, and we don't want to let her keep rolling and get this one even tighter than it is now.
14 of 40 from the floor, the Raiders. 16 of 44 are the Eagles. 6 of 15 from the three-point line are the Lady Raiders. 2 of 12 are the Lady Eagles. The big difference, 12 of 17 from the stripe of the Raiders. 4 of 13 from the free throw line are the Eagles. They will head back to Tallahassee regardless of the result and look at that free throw statistic and question what could have been here in Niceville. Running jumper is knocked away, but rebounded once again by Redmond, who is having herself a fourth quarter. Trapped by Gale. She's going to throw it in desperation at the rim, and it is going to come off of Jaden McCoy. So it's going to be a blue basketball. Shot clock expired there, so the official on the far side is going to come across and reverse that decision. A shot clock violation. They say that Redmond's throw at the rim did not get off in time, and so that'll be a turnover for TCC.
Yeah, great defensive stand there by our Lady Raiders.
Shania Merton's back into the basketball game. She has been testing that left ankle over on the bench. Looks like she is going to give it a go. We'll keep an eye on her. She has now exited the game twice because of that left ankle bothering her. Here's Georgia Gale. Gale's going to go baseline, fire it over to Etchie. Etchie to Mayo for three. No good. Off the back of the iron. Georgia Gale's going to hustle and grab the rebound, though. Full shot clock back on board. And there's that left ankle for Merton. She is down again. She can't come back into this game as that turnover is going to give a free two over to the TCC Eagles. And Mertens is down harder than the last two times and just slamming her hand down on the court. And she is crying. This one hurt. Whatever is going wrong with Shania Mertens, this one hurt her quite a bit. Having a hard time even getting up off the floor at this point. Looks like this might have been the right leg this time, Jeff McDonald. Yeah, it was the left ankle earlier. Now it's the right knee. It kind of looks like she might have hyperextended it when she was coming off of that ball, when she twisted around, her leg kind of stayed extended. When she fell backwards, the leg stayed extended all the way to the floor. So you got to think maybe a hyperextended knee or something similar, but she is having problems even getting up off the floor with assistance at this point. So Shania Mertens is hurting at this point, and this time it's the right leg. So now a lower leg injury on both legs for Shania Mertens, and you got to think Coach Walker is going to keep her on the bench for the rest of this game.
Yeah, I really couldn't. I mean, typically when you see someone locked up like that, it's maybe a cramp or an issue like that, but it's really hard to tell. So, but she's been having issues with both ankles, knees, legs tonight. It really can't get looks like she's getting a rub on that right calf muscle. Maybe she's just cramping up. Maybe that's the issue here, but it's hard to tell.
We'll see if we can get some more information. It does look like it is a cramp because they're bringing out the roller. They're going to roll that calf muscle a little bit. So if it does stay like that, we'll see if Shania Mertens makes her way back into the game. But I think after having exited 3 different times, that Coach Walker will keep her on the bench.
Yeah.
We'll keep an eye on that as it develops.
Yeah, it might be time to call it a night.
Leandra Etchie, left-handed runner, and gets it to go over a pair of defenders. Number 2 says, I'll take this one on my own.
Yeah, I don't even know if Etchie saw the basket when she put that one up, but what a shot.
So Leandra Etchie from the free throw line, 6'10" showing in the game. Free throw goes, gets the friendly home bounce, and it's 3 the old-fashioned way. Lead, however, is just 9 now. (49-40). We're going to get the score fixed for you here in just one moment. We'll get it back on there. A blocking foul called underneath. That one is going to go against, well, waiting on the call. It was called a block underneath, but did not get a signal on who that violation was on. Georgia Gale will head to the bench. Gabriella Sales back on. Sales has seen spot action here and there all season long, has predominantly served as a defender late in games when fouls were needed. And we'll call radio-style play-by-play for you here in just a minute, as we're having just a bit of slight technical difficulties. We'll get that up here in just a minute. In the meantime, a little radio-style play-by-play. Jeff McDonald going back to my old-school roots as Anastasia Zakharova drives the line and gets the left-handed baby hook to go. So here come the Eagles back the other way, working it down the right-hand side is going to be number 10, Tamaria Johnson. She'll reset the offense at the top of the key. Gabriella Sells and Cece Mayo. Skip pass all the way over into the corner to number 20, Daisha Bradford. Bradford gives it back up top. It's going to be driven down into the rack and a turnover. We're looking to find Jamiria Christine on the block and sailed the pass over her head. So another turnover for the Raiders, and I'm going to take a breath.
That was impressive, Rob Brown. Great work.
51-40, Lady Raiders lead. Just past under 5 minutes left to play in the basketball game. CC Mayo looking for Jade McCoy, battling DeAsia Reed underneath. Finds her and gets it to go. Jaden McCoy establishes her spot, gets a little hop step in the basket to boot.
Yeah, great look inside there. Great cut to the basket. Easy layup.
Long three-pointer off the iron for Daisha Bradford, who has been throwing up darts from deep all night and has really struggled. It has not been a kind shooting night from the three-point line for the Lady Eagles. They are now 1 for 7 from out deep and just can't get it to go. And again, we talked about it so far. The challenges for them, free throw shooting, three-point shooting, 1 of 5 from the stripe. To start the game. Since then, 4 of 13. They're also just 15.4% from the three-point line. So those two statistics are the story of the game. Turnovers, steals, assists, floor percentage. Everything else is basically identical for both squads. It's the three-point shooting and the free throw shooting that have made the difference here tonight, which has got to make you feel good if you're Coach Walker and the Raiders.
Yeah, absolutely. The bad news, though, is that, you know, Lady Eagles, they were knocking them down because they're certainly getting the opportunities. it would be a different ball game here tonight. What I would love to see out of these Lady Raiders is just have that killer instinct. When you've got your opponent on their heels, let's just put them away. And hopefully that's what we'll see here with the last 4.5 minutes in the fourth period, is just begin to see the killer instinct in them where they put their heel on the opponent's throat and put an end to it. So hopefully we see that here right now.
We've talked about the emotion of these Lady Raiders late in games, good and bad. They tend to ride the wave of positive or negative emotions, and we'll see if they're able to do that, to smell that proverbial blood in the water. 4 of 13 from the stripe are the Lady Eagles. They're 2 of 13 from the three-point line, 17 of 49 from the floor, 17 of 44 from the floor are the Lady Raiders, but they're 6 of 16 from behind the arc and 13 of 18 from the stripe. They're also out-rebounding the Eagles 31 to 27, and they are squared in the turnover category at 14 apiece. Back underway, back on the TCC side of things. They will inbound from underneath the basket and reset this offense in the hands of Tamaria Johnson. Johnson played limited minutes back in the first half, but has played a big role here in the fourth quarter in establishing the offense. There's a good scoop and score from Daisha Bradford, who gets the finger roll to goal.
Yeah, like what I was saying earlier, Rob, because anybody could hear what I said and say, well, yeah, Jeff, the shots they're missing are caused by the Lady Raiders defense. To an extent, yes, but a lot of these shots that are going missed by the Lady Eagles are wide open shots, some around the basket. So
Alasia Shearer tries the long three and cannot get it to go, so the Eagles come back the other way. There's a spin move on the inside, but a travel called against number 25, Deshauntia Washington Polk. She had a good look at the basket, but just took one too many steps to get there. Coach is very not happy with Alasia Shearer's three-point effort there. They send her to the bench and tell her to put the warm mat back on, so it looks like Shearer may be done for the evening. We'll see what's happening. She's going to the locker room. Wonder if maybe she's got to get some treatment. She took a spill to the floor pretty hard there after efforting that three. Here's Jaden McCoy inside to Etchie, and Etchie gets a nice little class. Good court vision from Jaden McCoy. She saw Etchie streak by her defender and found her wide open under the glass.
Yeah, great look.
There's the inside pass to DeAsia Reed. Jaden McCoy's all over her, but the foul is going to be called on the backside against Leandra Etchie, and Etchie is not thrilled with that call. Neither is Coach Walker, and that is going to be a big foul. That is now 4 for Leandra Etchie. The star player of this squad is now on the brink of fouling out after that call, and this game, while it does seem that it is going the Raiders' way, is far from put away. It was just a 9-point lead 20 seconds ago.
Yeah, absolutely, and some questionable calls. I'm looking out here and I'm seeing, ladies scrapping on the floor. I'm seeing 2 ladies from each team going for the ball. I'm not really seeing a foul. And I've seen a few of those calls tonight on that end of the floor. Don't really make a lot of sense, but that's why I'm not wearing the stripes.
Deja Reed can't get the jumper to go. It's rebounded and passed off to Leandra Etchie. Etchie up to Cece Mayo, back over to number 2 to reset the offense. She's got Jaden McCoy with her alongside Anastasia Zakharova, Alatrasi, and Cece Mayo. And there's a steal on the backside and a fast break for the Eagles. The layup is good for number 10, Tamaria Johnson, and a timeout called by the TCC Eagles, a 30-second timeout, as they've now gotten back to within 11 points. A couple of steals, a couple of turnovers in the last few have kept this thing maybe closer than the Raiders would like. Again, all signs point towards the team in gray walking out of here victorious, Jeff McDonald, but this is one of those times in the past handful of games that we have seen the Lady Raiders get a little carried away, make a few mental mistakes, the lead dwindles, and all of a sudden they find themselves in a dogfight late in the game.
Yeah, it just seemed to lose focus, just get a little too comfortable in the game, rather than, like we just said, you want to see a killer instinct. Let's put them away as the attitude that they need to have. Instead, it just doesn't seem to be there. So that's been something I've noticed throughout this season when we watch them, although, they've had a great year so far, so maybe that doesn't make sense. But if you come and you watch them play, fortunately we've got some big leads here near the end of ball games, but we tend to kind of let opposing teams have hope down the stretch, and that's what you don't want to do.
When you talk about championship teams, you go back and watch those Michael Jordan-led teams and Kobe Bryant-led teams. One of the things all those guys have always talked about is being able to come up late in the game and prevent hope You don't want that other team to even think they're in the game, and right now TCC does. Over to McCoy, to Zakharova, back up to Etchie to reset the offense. 18 on the shot clock, 2:42 on the game clock. Etchie to Anastasia Zakharova. Zakharova's got Awa Tracy on that side. Jay McCoy streaking through. She breaks the 5-second call, and the little crossover is going to draw the foul against number 23, Julian Redmond. Anastasia Zakharova was trying to go to the left hand. She caught one of the hands across the wrist.
And, you know, Rob, with some of those names that you just mentioned, the difference between those guys and maybe what we see sometimes are they're led by just a very dominant individual where, like when you watch our Lady Raiders here, we're just well-rounded for the most part. I don't know that there's one lady per se that could say, put the ball in my hands and I'm going to finish this thing. Really more of a team effort, but we do have some young ladies that could, and that just there you go, just another play where you're just taking too many steps. Just got to stay focused. But again, it's just got to be a group effort here of these ladies squashing that hope. And unfortunately, here we go with another unforced error, turnover that we did not need.
Cece Mayo with the travel. She was streaking to the rack as that three-point effort is going to be good. All strings for number 10, Tamaria Johnson. That's going to bring it back down to a single-digit lead for the Raiders. 55-47, a minute 54 left to play. Here's Leandra Ichi, and she's going to draw contact from Jamira McChristine. That is going to be McChristine's fourth foul. McChristine has been the only, if you can use the word, dominant inside player since the loss of Jada Perry, who was ejected back in the second quarter on a double tech between she and a couple of the Northwest Florida State College players. So McChristine now with no more fouls to give before she'll have to leave. Look at that pass to Jaden McCoy. Beautiful play from Leandra Etchie. Saw McCoy open on the backside and hits her over the top for the layup. Nice work from Leandra Etchie.
Yeah, if there's any one player I could point out and say that she would be that individual that would have that kind of killer instinct, it's Etchie.
Blocking foul is going to be called on the floor against Jaden McCoy. That is going to be McCoy's third foul of the afternoon. Georgia Gale has 4. Leandra Etchie has 4. Jaden McCoy has 4. All 3 of them are on the floor. A minute 41 left to go. It is a 10-point lead, and now the Lady Eagles are in the bonus, so fouls will count for free throws at this point. And all of a sudden, you look at the scoreboard, Jeff McDonald, you see you got a handful of players that are flirting with fouling out, a handful of your best players flirting with fouling out, and you're at a spot where the Lady Eagles just will not go away. It makes it a little more interesting.
No, they won't. You know, fortunately, great play down here on the other end. Great look by Etchie, finding a wide open Raider under the basket, and then you come right down on the other end of the floor with another, you know, what appeared to be a questionable call, but
first free throw of the 1-and-1 is good for Julian Redmond. We'll have a substitution. Deasia Reed will check out, be replaced by Nesma Khalifa. She is the tallest player on the Eagle roster, stands at 6'4", from Alexandria, Egypt, and will try her hand at trying to prevent Jaden McCoy, Georgia Gale, and Awa Tracy from dominating down between the blocks, which has been what they've done the last few possessions. Here's Georgia Gale, who's had a hot hand, will probably not be given any more free looks at the three-point line. Yeah. Gale double-teamed, and we are going to have a timeout called by Coach Walker. Not happy with the way that Georgia Gale handled that possession. She walked herself into a trap and got double-teamed, so Coach Walker bails her out with the timeout. Just under a minute and a half left to play, and the Raiders lead by 9.
Yeah, I think you see Coach is a little upset over there because our ladies tend to kind of hold on to the ball too long. Need to be looking more for the flasher at the top of the key, but even times when we looked at the top of the key, we've missed them. But he seems to be upset just again with a lot of standing around, holding on to the ball. But maybe we'll see a little more motion, a little bit more fire out of the Lady Raiders after this timeout.
One thing I'll say about this coaching staff, you can see where the players get it. We've talked about the emotions of this team and how they get very into the game. They get that from the coaches. We have watched the assistant coaches, Matt Schumach, Zach Banks, Samaria Howard. We have watched Coach Walker himself. They will get up and down that floor. They will be throwing their hands in the air, yelling, screaming, pointing, gesturing. And the players kind of feed off of that a little bit, especially when we get into crunch time situations like this one.
Yeah, absolutely. We certainly don't lack enthusiasm from the bench as far as our coaches are concerned. You might would want to see a little bit more of that fire and passion in our young ladies. Although I know I sound like I'm being very critical, but if you look up, you've got folks like Georgia Gale who's got the fire and passion, and then Etchie, of course. But there's a lot to be said for keeping your cool as well. But you want to see that attitude of just, I'm going to knock you out at the end of games like this.
Awatrossi is going to be called for an over-the-back call against Khalifa, who will now head to the stripe on the other end in the bonus territory as the Raiders are trying to put this thing away. Just under a minute and a half left to play, a 10-point lead that's been anywhere from 6 to 13 over the past 5 minutes. Here's Khalifa trying to keep her team in.
Hey, give these Lady Eagles credit, Rob. They're not going down easily. They're hanging in there, fighting to the very last second.
Nesma Khalifa's first free throw is money, brings it back down to a single-digit lead. Second free throw, also good. String music on both of those. We'll have a substitution. Khalifa will head to the bench, and Deasia Reed will check back in to do battle with Jade McCoy. Reed a little more towards McCoy's physical stature underneath, a little more physical matchup down there. Khalifa a little bit more of a finesse center, if such a thing exists.
It does.
Trossi picks up her dribble at the half-court line and is immediately swarmed. A jump ball called, and the possession arrow points towards the blue side. So Khalifa will come back on for Reed. She's the offensive expert in this situation, and it's a turnover for the Lady Raiders. Turnover battle even just about. 16 turnovers committed by the Raiders, 15 by the Eagles.
Yeah, that's a situation where you saw Trossi kind of dribble herself into the trap, and instead of...
Wow. Look at the runner from Daisha Bradford. Gets the right hand to go. CeCe Mayo is going to get the inbound pass. She is going to be met by a two-person trap and a quick steal and a putback. That's Tamiria Johnson. And, Jeff, it's a 4-point basketball game. We were worried about this in the third quarter, and instead the Lady Eagles will not go away. They are going to try to steal this thing in the last minute and a half of the basketball game.
Yeah, we're just not doing a great job of handling the pressure. That's possession before this most recent turnover. We got Trossi dribbling the ball down the floor into a trap. We're not creating any space. We've got CeCe Mayo running right up onto Trossi, kind of helping bring the defense to her. There's just not a lot of communication. We're not busting this full court press. We're not doing a great job of, again, with our spacing, create some space for the ball handler, quit bringing the defender to the ball handler. I don't know, we're struggling. We got to set some screens, maybe spread out a little bit. I don't have the medicine for this illness that we have right now, right here at the end of the fourth period. We're just being careless with the ball and turning it over and creating easy shots for the Lady Eagles.
Not a lot of off-ball movement when the half-court, full-court press is displayed by the Eagles, and that's been a problem. 19 of 47 from the floor. The Raiders 22 of 55 are the Eagles. 6 of 17 from the three-point line. 3 of 14 are the Eagles. And we've got ourselves a basketball game. 54.9 seconds left to go. And a 5-second violation called against Leandra Etchie, who could not find the inbounds. Another turnover, and the Eagles are fighting. Here's Khalifa checking back in. She'll replace Deasia Reed again, that offensive set. Khalifa kind of plays a high center, running that free throw line up to the three-point line and distributing the ball through the big player. It's forcing Awatrossi to come out and play defense and making Jaden McCoy play isolated ball. There's a right-handed leader. It won't go, and it's into the hands. That's a lucky break for the Lady Raiders, as Tamaria Johnson was standing out of bounds, and the ball just kind of bounced into her arm. So the Raiders catch a break.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to go up with two hands and rebound the ball strong and come down, and unfortunately there we kind of looked like we were slapping at it a little bit. So just not, it's mental toughness down the stretch here, Rob Brown, and we don't see it right now. Making bad decisions on the inbounds pass, getting the ball in, dribbling right into the teeth of the defense, turning it over. We just got to calm down and create some space and let Etchie do her thing in this press and diagonal passes that help get you out of the press. That's something that we've always been taught from an early age, but they're just panicking right now.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. It absolutely does. That inbounds pass from CeCe Mayo to Leandra Etchie. Etchie was swarmed immediately and fouled by Julian Redmond. That is Redmond's second foul of the afternoon. The officials making sure everything's all set with the scores table before Etchie heads to the line for her bonus free throws.
And at this point in the game, I really don't understand the foul down there. Why are you fouling? You've got 50 seconds left. You're down 4. You've been doing a great job of applying pressure to the length of the floor.
And you're sending one of the Raiders' best free throw shooters to the line.
Yeah, so to me that doesn't make a lot of sense. So maybe he's willing to take his chances with the Lady Raiders at the line, but if you look up, we're 15 of 21. It's not a super percentage, but hey, chances are we're going to knock it down 3 times out of 4. It's a bad idea to send us there.
Etchie knocks down the first. It's now a 5-point lead, but the last 2 minutes of on-clock action have been squarely in the corner of the TCC Eagles. Right now, again, we see the substitution. They're switching back and forth between DeAsia Reed playing that defensive specialty role, trying to keep Jaden McCoy and Awatrossi from having free open looks at the rack, and switching on the offensive boards to Nesma Khalifi. A little bit more of a finesse center. They're running the offense through Khaleesi, who is running around the top of the three-point line, and the free throw line extended, and that's kind of been the MO for the past few possessions. That and relying on mistakes by the Raiders. I don't want to take anything away from what TCC has done with the basketball, but the majority of the points that they've made up in the past 2 minutes have almost exclusively come off of Raider turnovers.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, listen, like you said, don't take anything away from these Lady Eagles. They are playing some high-pressure defense, and they're creating some panic in the minds of our Lady Raiders here, and they're not doing a great job of making good decisions here down the stretch and breaking this press and getting out of trouble. So making some poor decisions, bad passes, and we got to kind of get this cleaned up a little bit moving forward.
And she plays the strings with both of her free throws. 40 seconds on the clock. It's a 6-point ball game. Here come the Lady Eagles straight to the basket. No time wasted, and it's good for Daisha Bradford. 35 seconds on the clock. Fighting for the inbounds. It's Etchie. Etchie's going to get out of the trouble ahead to Georgia Gale, and Georgia Gale is going to have the ball tipped out of her hands. Waiting for a call. We got 2 officials discussing the call, and it's going to stick with the Raiders. Bad break for the Eagles. They tipped the ball out of the hands of Georgia Gale, but it went off of the thigh of Julian Redmond, so the Raiders will reset.
Fortunately, the officials working together there on that last play to get the call right, because we had that trailing official ready to get the ball back to the Lady Eagles. So very fortunate.
Gale drives baseline, back over to Trossi. Trossi to Etchie. She's happy to hold the ball with 12 seconds left on the shot clock. And fouled from behind by number 20, Daisha Bradford. And Etchie went down hard on that right knee. She kind of got unlucky there. She spun around. Her hip landed on the basketball, and it drove her knee down into the floor. So Etchie takes a hard bump to the right knee. We'll see if that impacts her at the free throw line as her Lady Raiders lead by 4, 15.3 seconds left on the shot clock. A pair of free throws here would all but put it out of reach for the Raiders if Etchie can knock them both down again. Cannot get the first one to go. Stays a 4-point game. You'd like one more free throw to make him at least need 1 3-pointer or some other drastic turn of events for the Eagles. So this is a big free throw for Etchie, and it goes. So it's a 5-point lead. Timeout called by head coach Francois Bell of the TCC Eagles as he'll try to get something inbounds. There's 15.3 seconds remaining on the clock. It is a 5-point lead. The Eagles have not shot well from the 3-point line. 1 of 6 on the evening. It has not been a ton of good looks. 1 of 6 from the 3-point line. Not a lot of great looks for the Eagles, but they're going to have to find one, and they're going to have to find one quickly if they want a shot to tie this thing up and force overtime.
Yeah, I think right now, Rob, what you do is you keep the ball in the hands of number 20, Daisha Bradford, or number 10, Tamaria Johnson, who have had very little trouble getting to the basket here near the end of the ball game. You get it in their hands, get it down quickly, get a quick 2, quick foul, hope for a miss, and then get a chance at a three-point shot near the end of the ball game here. But right now, you want to look for 10 or 20, get a quick take to the basket, get a bucket or a foul, and then on the inbounds, foul the Lady Raiders immediately.
Both teams shooting exactly 44% from the floor. Here's Khalifa, and it's tipped away by Trossi. Ends back up with the Eagles, however. 8 seconds on the clock. There's a running jumper. It's no good. Rebound is up for grabs, and a whistle blows by the backside referee, and it is going to be against TCC. That foul is going to go against number 20, Daisha Bradford. It was a loose ball after the missed jumper. It is going to send Leandra Etchie to the free throw line, and now she's got a chance to ice this thing with 4 seconds left on the clock.
You know, great job there. Great defensive stand by the Lady Raiders, keeping the ball out of the hands of number 10, Tamiri Johnson, and number 20, Daisha Bradford, because that's who you wanted to get the ball to, and they were denied the ball, could not get it, and forced a not so pretty shot from Julian Redmond, but just great job by the Lady Raiders defensively on that last possession.
Leandra Etchie misses both, and the Lady Eagles are going to have to get something off quick here, and a running three as time expires, and that'll do it. The Lady Raiders get back in the win column, a 61-56 W back at home over Tallahassee. 63-58, they lost to Gulf Coast last time we were here. They went on the road and fell 53-49 to Chipola, but they return home to Raider Arena in the first of 2 games this week and get a 61-56 win over a very game TCC Eagles squad that had no business sticking around when that lead went to 18. Instead, they made everybody in Raider Arena sweat for the last 5 minutes of that basketball game, Jeff.
Yeah, Rob, definitely not the way you want to close one out. And even you saw us there struggling from the line right at the end. So we did everything we possibly could to create an opportunity for the Lady Eagles to, you know, get back in this one and make it very interesting. Again, go back to the drawing board if you're the Lady Raiders. Coach, take them in there, and we got to get a little tougher mentally near the stretch, near the end of ball games, and take better care of the basketball. You know, we're doing a great job on the defensive end of the floor, making them knock down tough shots. But the problem is we're turning the ball over. We're making careless decisions. We're not getting the ball in clean. And that press right there just really caused some panic in the Lady Raiders, and it showed, and we struggled, and the Lady Eagles almost came back and poured one out against us.
They fought hard at the very end, and things started to fall apart a little bit for the Lady Raiders, able to maintain mental toughness. But a couple of stats from the night this evening. Both teams shooting nearly identical from the floor. 23 of 59 went the Eagles, 19 of 47 went the Lady Raiders. From the three-point line, one of the few places that the statistics were noticeably different. 3 of 15 from behind the arc for the Eagles, 6 of 17 from behind the three-point line for the Lady Raiders. Free throw line, very similar story. 7 of 17 for the Lady Eagles, 17 of 26 went the Lady Raiders, but we mentioned there, Leandra Etchie missed her last 4 free throws in clutch time. That's something that's going to have to be addressed, because that's not the first time that's happened for Etchie and the Lady Raiders as a whole.
Yeah, but certainly tonight, it was a little out of character for her. She is typically a little bit more ice in the veins, but definitely struggled there at the line. But had it not been for Etchie there down the stretch, you know, she made some good decisions in a few possessions that kind of kept that lead for us, but at the same time made some careless decisions in the press. So we got to get that cleaned up, do a better job of working together during the stretch, end of ball games, and protect the ball and put teams away. We got to get better against the press, bottom line.
Lost the turnover battle tonight, did the Lady Raiders. 18 times they gave the ball away, only took it away 15 times. Rebound game, similar. It was a little more leaning toward the Raiders at the end. 35 rebounds overall, 29 for the Lady Eagles. Just 9 offensive rebounds tonight for the Lady Raiders. That was something we saw them really looking to push on last home game, but it went right back to what it was before that. Overall, good for the Lady Raiders to be back in the win category. Certainly nice to be able to knock off TCC and prevent them from climbing back into the Panhandle Conference. Gives you a little more breathing room. Second place in the conference. They trail Gulf Coast State College. One of the other 2 losses we talked about, their last loss as a matter of fact. With that being said, Jeff, plenty to learn from and walk away from, needing to work on before 3 days days from now when we return and host Pensacola.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we got the absolute best effort tonight from these Lady Eagles of Tallahassee Community College. So, you know, we've said all the negative stuff, but at the end of the day, great job by our Lady Raiders for holding on for the W. And we still got a lot of basketball left ahead of us, and just refocus and let's do a better job taking care of the ball, finishing out games, and we'll keep playing for a while, Rob.
3 days away on the 9th of February, Pensacola will be here for another matchup. That'll be a very big one here in Panhandle Conference play. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We're about 15 minutes away from getting topped off for the men's game. Want to thank R.J. Murdoch, Max Murdoch, and Brandon Perdue, our staff and crew from Emerald Coast TV, for bringing you all of the Raider action. We'll take that quick break. We'll come back here in just a couple of minutes, rewind the last couple of weeks for the men's side, and get you all set up for the tip between Tallahassee Community College and the Northwest Florida State College men's basketball team. I'm Rob Brown. He's Jeff McDonald. We'll be back. Thanks for watching here on Emerald Coast TV.